Which of these players do you think will win this 1v1 match? How about this one? And what about this one? How much mass can you spend getting more mass extractors without getting too greedy and compromising your defense? Hi, my name is Alphahex, and today we'll be talking about exactly that. The basics of expansion and map control. Mass, the most important resource in the game. Low on energy? Build more generators. Low on research? Build more research stations. Low on mass? Now you have a problem. A lot of new players will be inclined to solve this problem with mass converters. Mass converters can create mass by consuming energy, and generators are very cheap to build. Using mass to make energy, to make more mass, to make more energy, to make even more mass has to be good, right? Well, let's look how long it takes to unlock mass converters and actually get a base going. Most of the footage I'll be showing is Open Palms, the most popular 1v1 map in SC2. But 90% of this information still holds on smaller maps or team games. From here on, I'll be using some abbreviations. Res for research, MC for mass converters, and Eco for economy. AKA how much mass income a person has, because energy generators can easily be added when needed. Obviously, you're going to need to start with heavy research if you're rushing mass converters. Aeon MC costs 15 res, Cybern MC 17 res, and UEF MC costs 19 res. Notice how for the first 10 minutes the MC rushing player is completely vulnerable and has no army. For comparison, the Megalith experimental land unit costs 14 res, and with a research build like this you can easily have one by 6 minutes. But even that's not fast enough in a real 1v1. But that's a topic for another tutorial. There is no way you can have that much research and that much energy while also having enough resources to build anything else. As you can see, the MC income doesn't kick in until after 10 valuable minutes have passed and doesn't become completely sustainable until much later. This base looks pretty impressive, right? Let's see how it compares to aggressively expanding and taking every mass extractor you see. These first few games are just for testing purposes and assume you're not getting attacked. But already this build is looking much better, because we don't need those expensive research stations required to unlock MC. This extra mass can be used to build your army to attack enemy territory while defending yours. But for now I'll use all the mass I got for expanding until I can't. Right from the start, the aggressive expansion build has a huge mass income lead over MC Rush, and by 10 minutes we actually can run 4 gantries all building megaliths at the same time. Obviously the difference won't be this extreme in a 4v4 where you only get 7 to 8 mass extractors before you run out of space. MC Rush in team games also fails, but for different reasons. Remember how it took 10 minutes for the MC income to kick in? And by that time that's all you have, income. You're not actually using it. You don't have anything else researched. If you're rushing MC in a 4v4, you're basically letting your team free v4 until the 20-minute mark where you actually start being useful. This is more than enough time to lose the game, especially when you remember that a Megalith can be built in 6 minutes. There are some situations where MC Rush can work, especially in unbalanced noob games, but definitely not in a real match filled with decent players. As you can see in this situation, without rushing MC you can easily have an equal base in the late game, if not bigger. Your main takeaway from this should be that nothing can replace the advantage you get from taking as much territory as possible. The more space you control, the more mass extractors you can have. Your mass income is the only bottleneck in how much stuff you can build. But what does it mean to control some territory? How fast can you expand without the mass extractors getting killed? Now let's look at what happens if you try a greedy build like this without having an army in a real game. In this replay I'll be fighting versus the best SC2 player at the moment, Iron Commander. Obviously this isn't the build I would normally do. We are only doing these games for testing purposes. Right away you can see things are off to a bad start. Within 2 minutes one of my engineers is already getting bombed. It is very important to attack every weakness your enemy has and not let them freely gobble up every mass deposit on the map. Around 4 minutes, Iron already has more mass extractors than I do, simply because I don't have an army that would prevent him from expanding. Once your enemy has more land units, more air units, and more eco, you know it's over. Clearly we're going to need some units to attack and defend, but how many? The trick to every real-time strategy game is exactly this question, balancing your eco and having enough units to fight. In this next game I completely neglect my eco on purpose and build as many units as fast as I can to immediately attack Iron, who's doing the exact same build you saw him do last game. It took me less than 2 minutes to build everything I need, and now I'm ready to attack. 3 land factories is the maximum amount you can run in the start of any game, and it's actually a very solid build, but not with this little mass extractors. I would definitely recommend focusing on eco a lot more. You might actually be able to kill a lot of decent players with a build like this anyway, but it's not good practice. Every top level 1v1 is decided entirely by how much eco a player can get away with, which is directly linked to their micro skill and how big of an area they can defend. It only takes 3 minutes for me to reach Iron's base, but I'm sure you can already see a problem. Iron only has 2 land factories, but we somehow have the same amount of units. This is because of travel time. there's always going to be some distance between you and the enemy. You can use this distance to have slightly less units than the enemy and invest the extra mass in eco, which is exactly how every pro build order works. As you can see, Iron already has double the mass extractors I do, and the Land Rush build fell completely flat on its face. Therefore, the optimal build is definitely going to be something between the greedy aggressive expansion and building as many units as possible. Somehow, you need to have just enough units to defend against a rush like this, while spending everything else you have on eco, or research, but that's a topic for another tutorial. For now I'll focus on the eco part, because if your eco is good, you can just build more research stations with the extra mass. While I can't tell you how to perfectly balance the amount of units and eco for every situation, I can give you some basic tips. Number 1. On small maps, focus on units. On big maps, focus on eco. If you're playing a Desolation 1v1, build your land factories first and expand with your engineers while pushing with your ACU. If you're playing on open palms, you can definitely delay when you build your factories and spend a lot more time building mass extractors. Number 2. Do not build mass extractors that you don't feel confident defending. It takes almost 3 minutes for a mass extractor to pay for itself from the moment you start building it with an engineer, and even longer to make any noticeable profit. Whenever you build extractors that don't survive for at least 3 minutes, you're actually losing mass. Knowing what extractors you can get away with taking is a skill that you can only develop by playing a lot of 1v1 games. For now, I recommend trying to expand too much and seeing where the limit is. Anytime you're punished for investing too much in eco, try to expand a little less in the next game, until you find that balance. Number 3. Do not build any point defenses. Seriously. So many people try to expand while defending their extractors with turrets only. A mobile missile launcher can completely outrange a point defense, making it completely useless. You need to be able to defend with land or air units only. There are situations where point defenses are very useful, but for now you should just pretend they don't exist. A single point defense costs almost as much as a land factory. Number 4. Watch stronger players. Whenever you lose a game, save the replay and look at what the other guy did. This game has been around for 12 years, so you can definitely speed up your learning process by watching the pros and copying what they do. Steel Speaks is the perfect YouTube channel for this, as he's been casting multiple pro replays every month. And I don't think he missed a single month since he started uploading in 2014. If you're not already subscribed to him, you should subscribe right now. On screen, you can see a solid build that will work on any small map or medium map, anything up to open palms. But whenever you feel like your enemy isn't pressuring you enough and you think you can take more mass, take it. And then use that mass to build more factories. Number 5. Don't build engineers until the mid game. If neither of your starting 2 engineers die, you don't really need extra build power until much later into the game. 2 engineers is all you need to expand and assist factories for at least 10 minutes. If you feel like it's not enough, you're probably not using them right. Spamming engineers to assist the factory won't actually make it build that much faster. If you have mass to spare, you should just build more factories. Which brings me to the most important tip of all. Number 6. Be as close to 0 mass as possible. You want to keep increasing your mass income, but having tons of mass in storage means you're not actually spending your income. If you watch any pro gameplay, you'll always see almost no mass in storage. This means that everything they're extracting from the ground is almost instantly going straight back into production of units, research, or building more mass extractors. You should never have more than 400 mass unless you're saving up for something big. The same principle also applies to energy, but instead of 400, I'd say you want to be hovering somewhere around 2000. Anytime you go under that number, just build extra generators. So many new players overbuild generators in the first few minutes when they only need 2 or 3. All of the mass you're spending on generators you don't need was mass that could have been spent on more units or eco that would give you an edge over your opponent. Before you build anything, you should always be asking yourself, do I really need this? Efficiency is a very important concept that will probably have its own video. Whenever you feel like there's too much going on, you're floating tons of mass and you don't know what to spend it on, select idle engineers and drag lines of research or factories. Spending mass on suboptimal things is better than not spending it at all. As you get better at the game, you'll be spending all the mass you're extracting on exactly what you need without any going to waste, while also perfectly microing your units and attacking where it hurts. If you want to watch some replays and get the general vibe of how fast you should be expanding, what units to build and what to research, I have plenty of tournament games recorded on my channel. Feel free to copy any build you see and try them yourself. For now, that's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one. What? You still haven't joined the biggest Supreme Commander 2 Discord in the world with over 1,000? 2,000? You have General, Hall of Fame, all the YouTube channels, all the YouTube videos, streaming, don't worry about that. Ask for some help, post some memes, send some replays, find a game, dead chat. We even have a channel for all the Xbox Subcom 2 players. So what are you waiting for? Click the first link in the video description or just type Supreme Commander 2 in this thing that nobody will ever use. You should join now!